it explains the reality of someone struggling with what all of us struggle with, struggling with how we're going to free a people. All right? And people have come to us over the centuries trying to figure this out. How do we free this deaf, blind, and dumb people? Wake them up so that they can provide food, clothing, shelter for themselves, so they can control economic politics where they live. That's what he was struggling with. At the same time, he was struggling with his allegiance to his base, and his allegiance to his teacher, and his allegiance to his greater teacher, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Because he was, if you're talking about a knight of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, that was the man.
Sir.
You know, even though we came from these different worlds, whenever y'all were over here, he'd come to my house 2 o'clock in the morning, because he had some questions he just needed to get off of his head. That last night he spoke in New York, I was speaking at First World Alliance, he was speaking for Alumni Draft, I think. And so we knew we wouldn't see each other, so I ran over to the school so we could talk before. And him and Hashim called me after the speech at about 11 that night, and then we didn't see each other anymore. But what I can say about what I've been able to, I haven't read the whole book, but I've reviewed it, and I'm a good reviewer. That's this is the best document on the history and the experience, not only of a personality in the movement, but what's going on in the movement and why at the time. Because I have some experience y'all didn't have. I got to sit down with Brother Akbar Muhammad, and a lot of people didn't get that opportunity. It was up in Binghamton. I went up to Binghamton, this is while his brother Wallace was over the community. And I made a statement that Islam comes right out of Africa. And some of the young Orthodox Muslims decided to challenge me. And I saw an older brother back in the audience reading the newspaper like he's not even paying any attention. I go like, that's it. So when I beat up the younger brothers, the older brother stood up and took me on. And because he's my elder, I wasn't going to challenge him. He'd been in this thing much longer than me. But he decided, small, I'm not going to let you fly back tonight. I will get you a hotel room. I will buy you an airline ticket tomorrow because we're going to sit and talk all night. That conversation I won't share. But it was an extraordinary conversation from the youngest son of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and myself at the time, who had just stepped down from being the imam of the Muslim Mosque in England. But my real reason for coming tonight, my younger brother, who is an extraordinary young man, been through a lot himself, but has an extraordinary strength. When we leave historical documents for our people to study the path we walk, this is going to rank up there in the top 5 of those historical documents that's documenting a segment of our life and documenting the life of an extraordinary young man. You know, I remember the night in Baltimore when we got that letter from Amin, and we were all in the room, and he was crying. He was really hurt to his heart. And then we had gotten the threat. So I told him, you don't speak, you don't open, you speak, but I'll open. So when I went out front, the first 3 rows was all FOI. So the theme of my lecture was, if Malcolm and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad were here, what would they do? When I got the lecture, all the brothers got up and walked out. And I think Sister Jeffries came on, and then Brother Khalid came on and closed it down. The point is, what we call the divine, or Allah, or God, or the universe, the way I understand it from an African perspective, what we're calling God is the totality of the universe itself, and we're just a tiny little aspect of that totality. It sends among us, out of its own reality, spiritual leaders, guides, and messengers. And this brother, Khalid Muhammad, he was one of those.
Indeed.
And this book explained his role as a spiritual messenger from the universe itself. As they say in Africa, the totality of the divinity is the universe. It is that totality that see our issues, see our crises, and then send spirits to give us guidance in a way we can resolve some of those issues in this crisis. And the way Brother Malik has done in weaving the story with so much fact and so much detail, I have never seen done in a book of this type, my brother.
Sir.
You're an extraordinary gentleman.